In the last bit of the USA migration case study, we're going to look at challenges and opportunities. This is for the OCR spec, and I've highlighted the section we're talking about in the video. So I'm going to start with challenges. One of the biggest challenges for this migration pattern is that there are 10.9 illegal immigrants, most of which, nearly half of which are Mexican living in the USA. As we can see here, this is a big issue for border control and in particularly the rising cost for the Department of Homeland Security. So back in the 90s, the cost for border security and enforcement was 263 million, and by 2019 it was over 4.8 billion. So we see that there is a lot more conflict points happening on the border, and there's an increased cost for the host nation on trying to control this issue, which is becoming a lot harder. We've also got challenges in the fact that when immigrants come to the USA, whether they're legal or illegal, they often concentrate in urban areas. I show here on the map that there are areas where there are over 6 million people who are immigrants living in that area. Southern California, LA particularly being an area of dominance, New York, Miami, and also in some of those places that are very close to the border. So Texas, we see Houston and Dallas being areas where there are lots of immigrants. This obviously has challenges but also opportunities for those areas. One of those challenges is that immigrants, when they come to an area, they often find diaspora networks, so people that are already migrants that live there, that potentially have shared language and culture. These places are welcoming. It's easier for them to feel like they can fit in with a certain group. But however, by moving to this area, it can create segregation and slight ghettos where you get a concentration of migrants in one area, which means that they struggle to integrate into the wider US society. This can lead to segregation and conflict because of that, and also potentially discrimination with people that are the kind of native US population. I see here an example of that kind of discrimination where, as the amount of people that legally and illegally migrate to the USA increases, you see these anti-immigration groups, and they often target migrants, whether they've moved there legally or illegally. And you can see xenophobia. So xenophobia is a word we talked about before, which is a fear of foreigners. This can lead to conflict, and here is an example of a protest being made because of increasing migration levels. Another big issue is in areas where immigrants concentrate. So we say a good example of Southern California, there can be increased pressure on services and resources, school places, water supplies. This can sometimes be perceived as much as actuality. And a good example of that is there's some anti-immigration groups in Southern California that have blamed water shortages in that area on the rise in the number of immigrants moving to that area over the last 30, 40 years. We said there are challenges, but there are also opportunities. One of the obvious opportunities is that key labour gaps for low-skilled jobs get filled, and these are often jobs that native-born Americans don't actually want to do. Some industries are propped up essentially by migrant labour force. Examples on the right here, and this can be legal and illegal migrants, but nearly a quarter of agriculture and construction are made up of migrants of some sort. Manufacturing again and hospitality industries are really important areas that the migrant population help support and keep running. Another end of the scale is the fact that migrants can actually lead to new growth in businesses, and they can lead to new jobs being created. Here's the interesting fact at the bottom that says that immigrants are 40% more likely than native-born Americans to start a business. So we can see that not only are migrants filling in jobs, but they're actually creating new jobs. Here, 21% of business owners are actually immigrants. So creating new jobs, leading to more entrepreneurship, and that leading to economic growth down the line. The last major thing that to talk about opportunities is that immigrants are often young and working age. Therefore, they pay a lot of tax, which can be used by the government to fund services. Even there's evidence that illegal migrants are estimated to pay up to 12 billion in taxes. Part of this is they believe that even though they are illegal, they actually pay taxes in terms of things they buy, their sales tax, but also they do this with the hope that if they are found out, that therefore they are seen to have good moral character and therefore can get some kind of help without being deported. The last thing is, as we see in other countries, the USA has a declining birth rate, and migrants are more likely, because they're young, to have children. Therefore, they can increase the birth rate and combat the problems of an aging population. The last area of the economy that benefits of this is there's a increasing demand for highly skilled migrants from places which I'll talk about in a second, but science, engineering, education and business. We see a lot of migrants being attracted to the US and then being filled, which again allows those sectors to grow. And lots of these sectors are in the kind of tertiary and quaternary sector, which are important areas of growth for a developed country like the US. And as you can see at the top of that graph and here, that lots of those jobs are going to people from India and China, which is forging an important connection with those countries and the potential for trade and new opportunities with those countries as well.